In today's video, I'm going to show you all the ways you can use peel and stick wallpaper around your house. One of my favorite things to add peel and stick to are trays, and you can get these practically anywhere. This tray is one I've had now in my craft room. This one is from Hobby Lobby. I wanted to stain it a little bit darker, so I got a stain out of my craft room. My favorite way to put on stain is with a foam brush. So I'm going to apply the stain to the outside of my wood tray, and I'll remove any excess with a paper towel. Once I have the outside done, I'm going to stain the inside. Now I'm not going to worry about the bottom portion because that's where I'm going to add on my peel and stick paper. There's so many places that you can get peel and stick. I'm going to be showing you so many great peel and stick wallpapers from Dollar Tree that I use. They have a ton, but I also like to order them from other places. The peel and stick I'm going to be using on this tray is from Amazon. I will link it for you down below. If you've had the chance to go on any high-end sites lately, oranges are very popular this season. So I wanted to find something that was very trendy, and I spotted this peel and stick wallpaper on Amazon. So whenever I'm adding peel and stick wallpaper to a tray, I usually just pull it out so it's a little bit longer than I think that I need, and I'll cut it off. Then I start in one corner, placing down the paper, trying to get it as even as possible. And then I will just peel off the back and place it down and try to smooth it down. Now on the edges, I usually will just use my fingernail to smooth it out along the edges, and then I will use a box cutter to cut it off. Now I will say this paper was a little bit thinner than papers I've used in the past, so I did have some of the paper rip in my corners. So that's okay to fix that. I just cut off a piece and smoothed it down in the corners, and you'd never be able to tell that I ripped it there. Now if you have any excess paper that's up along the edges, just go back through with your box cutter and cut that off. And here's how my tray turned out. I think it's perfect for this time of year. On one of my recent Dollar Tree Shop With Me trips, I came across these lanterns. They have them in two different sizes, and I just love the gold detail. So I wanted to use them in a DIY. The lanterns are going to be $3 and $5, and they come with a lantern. They also have a glass piece in the middle, but I wanted to add in a candle, so I found two candles. One was from Walmart, and then the other one I had in my craft room that would fit into my lanterns. Now, one of my favorite techniques to do with candles is to cover them with napkins. And I'm telling you, you can get so many fun decorative napkins. I found this bow napkin off of Amazon. I thought it was absolutely gorgeous, so I ordered a pack. For this DIY, you're really only going to need one of the napkins so you can use them for another event. But when you pull out your napkin, there's going to be a white backing piece on the back of practically any decorative napkin. You want to pull that white backing piece off of your napkin. Next, because I wanted these bows to go straight up and down, I tried to cut a nice straight edge across my napkin. Next, I will line up the top of my napkin with the top of my candle. Don't worry about the bottom. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. Line it up, and then you're going to use an iron. I have this mini travel iron that's so perfect for crafting. I'll link it for you down below. But I'm going to just start on the edge, and you just want to lightly put your iron on top of your napkin. What's going to happen is your candle is going to melt, and that's going to adhere the napkin to the candle. Then I'll continue doing that by just lightly putting my iron onto my napkin all the way around my candle. Now you don't want this to overlap too much. It's okay if it does just a bit. Now, how are we going to handle the bottom half? Well, we're going to cut off the excess napkin at the bottom, so we just have maybe about 1/2 inch, and then go around and lightly iron the bottom on. And since you're not going to be able to see it, it's more important that the top looks nice and straight. So I did that with one candle, and I added it to my lantern. I'm going to repeat those steps on my second candle. Now, depending on what your particular decor is, you could do this with so many different types of napkins. I'll show you how it looks styled in my home. Every time I'm at the thrift store, I always see these fold-out tables or these TV trays. And these are perfect for a small space because you can set them up or take them down. And you can find some really nice ones. I found this all black table at my thrift store. I thought it'd be perfect to cover with a little peel and stick. I ordered this peel and stick off of Amazon in this gorgeous bird pattern. If you guys remember my RV makeover, I actually used this in my bathroom just with another color. So we're using it again, just with an updated color of this navy. I just think it's a gorgeous wallpaper. So I'm gonna start again in one corner, line it up the best I can, and then I'm gonna peel off the backing, making it as smooth on my tray as possible. I don't want this to fold over the edges. I just want to cut it off on the ends. Now, I was having trouble because I felt like some of the paper wasn't lining up, so I did have to like pull up the paper and try to put it back down. Just keep applying it till you're happy with it. Once I got it all smoothed out, I think the best way to cut it off is to take your box cutter and put it as close to the edge of your table as you can and just run it along your table. The other way you could do it is flip it upside down and cut it on your table, but I feel like this honestly gives you the cleanest line. And here's how my table turned out. One of my favorite things to peel and stick is reusable items that I don't want to throw away in my kitchen because I feel like peel and stick paper can just really update a piece. So if you use tea, you may have these gorgeous containers. Like, these are so amazing. I do not want to throw this out. But what you can do is add in some peel and stick paper. One of the most popular peel and stick papers at Dollar Tree is this bird peel and stick wallpaper. So where the lip is on the top of the container, I'm going to start by putting the peel and stick down so it's nice and level with that edge. Again, I'm not worrying about the bottom. I'll start by smoothing it out all the way around my container. Now, the paper that I have wasn't enough to cover the entire container because I was wanting that bird to be on the front, so that's okay. With my paper, I want to cut it off along the edge. So to do that, take your fingernail and just smooth it out so that you get a crisp line all the way around. Then you can go through with your box cutter and cut it off. Now, if you don't get it cut in the first go through, that's okay. Go back through and just use your box cutter again. Now I'll cut off an additional piece that I can put on the back, and then I'll cut off the bottom of that as well. This is a perfect organization item that you can use in your office that you completely customized. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. Comment the word of the day, which is Dollar Tree. One of my favorite containers at Dollar Tree is this glass container. They're perfect to use all around your house. I love using them in my pantry. So I'm going to use a little bit of the Dollar Tree gray peel and stick to put some labels on the front. I wanted a backing piece. So I had a sticky note and I'm going to fold it in half because I thought that would be the perfect size to be a backing piece for my labels. And then I'm going to use that piece, draw around it on the peel and stick, and I'm going to be making 2 of these. Then I'll cut it out. And then I'll add the peel and stick to the glass containers. Now, after I put the first one on, I like to put both glass containers next to each other so that I make the peel and stick the exact same height. Now for my label, I'm gonna be using my favorite label maker. I've been using it for years, and I'm just going to create some labels for what I'm gonna put inside. So in these containers, I'm gonna be putting in chia seeds as well as some almonds. So I'll just type that into my app and then press print, and then they will print out on my label maker, and I can add these on top of the peel and stick paper. Every time I'm thrifting, I find cool little knickknacks that I know that I could use in my DIYs. I love this little glass container. It did have some broken glass on the front, but I thought, what if I used peel and stick to fix that? So I'm gonna be using the tan peel and stick paper, and I'm gonna cut off a piece of the peel and stick. What I wanna do is place it onto the front where the glass is broken. So I'm gonna line it up with the bottom, and then using my fingernail, I'm just going to smooth it out around the edges. Now, to cut it down so it fits perfectly in that little slot, I'm going to be using my box cutter, and I'll just cut around the edges. Now, if you don't get all the paper off, that's okay. Just go back through with your box cutter until you're able to remove it all. So I covered the front piece, then I flipped it around to the back, and I did the exact same thing on the back. And I thought, let's also do the sides as well. So again, I cut off a piece of peel and stick, leveled it out on the bottom edge, and used my fingernail to make it as close to the edge as possible, and then cut it off with my box cutter. Once I had all 4 sides covered, I added in some matches. You can find these matchbooks practically anywhere, Dollar Tree, Walmart, but I am going to need to add the striker piece. So on the box, I'm going to cut down the striker piece. And you don't need the whole thing. I'm just going to cut so it will fit on the back of my box. So once I cut it down, I'm going to hot glue it on the back. Now I can use this as a matchbox in my home. Now, if you guys are ever wondering where my outfits are, they are in the description box of the video. Just click the arrow and the description box will drop down, or I'll put our QR code right here. You can scan it, it'll take you to our Amazon storefront. When I was scrolling on Anthropologie's website, I came across these really cool light switches, and I loved how you could really customize your light switches to fit with your room. And I knew we could recreate these with Dollar Tree items. So all you need is any light switch in your house. You're also going to use your favorite peel and stick wallpaper. I've really been liking this blue marble. This is a newer one that they recently came out with at Dollar Tree. So you're gonna start by cutting off a piece that's a little bit longer than you think you're gonna need, and then you're going to place the peel and stick onto the light switch, smoothing it down. Now, if you have a light switch that curves around the edges, you wanna make sure that you really get it smoothed around that edge. And then to cut it, you're going to, again, use your box cutter to just cut around all 4 sides. If you have any extra paper, you can tuck that under as well. For the light switch holes, what I like to do is just cut a slit down the middle, and then I'll just fold the paper back and it will attach to the back side of the light switch. I also like to create a hole wherever the screws go, just to make sure that I can screw it into the wall just fine. Have you ever seen these decorative seashells? I made these last year with my girls whenever we went to Florida. I feel like these are perfect this time of year, and they're so gorgeous. And really, you can customize these to look however you want. So all you're going to need is a seashell, either one you collect or one you buy at the store. The one I'm using is pretty large. Now, you want the center of it to be pretty neutral. So I ended up painting the inside of my seashell a white color. So I did an entire coat with a foam brush of a sample paint that I had on this seashell. Now, don't worry about the outside, just paint the inside. If your seashell's already neutral, you're not gonna have to do this. Then I wanted to add on a fun decorative napkin. This is one I picked up from Amazon in this gorgeous strawberry print, so cute. So again, I took out one of the napkins and I pulled off that backing piece. You need to make sure you remove that before you do any Mod Podging. And then I cut off the strawberry part of the napkin that I was going to add on. Next, I'm going to add a full layer of Mod Podge to the inside of my seashell with a foam brush. I'll place the napkin on, making sure that I lay it as flat as possible. Now, with the outside edge, you can do 2 things. You can either cut it off or you can tear it off. This napkin was pretty strong, so I did cut it off. My napkin didn't completely cover the seashell, so I did have to cut some pieces from another napkin and add those on. You want to let this dry, and then you're going to add another layer of Mod Podge on the top of your seashell. Let that dry completely, and either you can keep it like this. To take it a step farther, I'm going to add a layer of gold Rub and Buff to the outside edge of my seashell. So just put a little bit of Rub and Buff onto your foam brush and lightly move it around the outside edge. And you can use these as great little trinket trays. I think they're perfect for storing your jewelry. There's so many boxes that you can pick up in the Dollar Tree Crafter Square. This is one that I use in a lot of DIYs. I'm gonna be staining it kind of a lighter stain color, almost a medium stain color. To add the stain, I'm gonna use a foam brush to brush it on. Any excess I will pull off with a foam brush. Now, I do wanna make sure that I stain the entire box as well as the middle. Now I'm going to be adding on peel and stick paper, so it's important that you let your stain completely dry. Otherwise, the peel and stick paper is not going to adhere as well. This is a new paper that I've really been liking. I think it's so pretty. You could really use it in so many different ways, but I'm going to be wrapping half of my box with the peel and stick wallpaper. I'm going to measure it out so it's about halfway through the box, and I'll wrap it around to the back side and cut it off. Now I'm not worrying about the bottom edge, so I'll just start by placing the paper on one side, wrapping it around to the other side. You want to make sure your paper is about the same distance on both sides, so if you need to adjust it before you apply that, make sure you do that. You're going to smooth the paper down, and then for the bottom side, run your box cutter along the edge to cut off any excess. These are perfect to use in your office. Now, if you're like me, you use a lot of peel and stick wallpaper, and you may have a lot left over in your craft room and you think, okay, I have a little bit of scrap left, but what do I do with this? It's not enough to cover an entire thing. Let me show you what you can do with your wallpaper scraps. So you're going to need to pick up a bowl at Dollar Tree. I went with this clear plastic one that they have in the party section. Then you're going to get however many peel and stick wallpapers you want to use. If you're going to be using multiples, you want to make sure that the colors are going to work together. So I had these two that were like blues and cream, so I knew they would be perfect together. Next, I'm going to start by cutting strips with my wallpaper. Now, depending on how much wallpaper you have, you want to make sure your strips are long enough so that they are going to wrap inside your bowl and around to the back of the bowl. That's going to be important. So I'm going to cut down strips that are about 1 inch in thickness, and I'll do that on one of my scrap papers, and then I'll do that with the other one as well. Once you have your strips in place, this is super easy to do. You're gonna pull off the backing and you're gonna start in the middle, placing your strips down, and you're gonna smooth it out around the top. Once you get to the back, there's a little bit of lip on your bowl. You wanna make sure you smooth that down completely, and then you'll smooth it down the bottom until it's on the underside of the bowl. And then I'm gonna alternate. So then I will go to the other wallpaper strip and add that on. Now you just want them to overlap, but because you're moving around in a circle, some are going to overlap more than others. Don't worry, in the end it's going to look great. So you're going to keep adding strips of paper and alternating until you completely cover this bowl. I have to tell you, I love the way this looks. I think it looks so unique, and you can put this out in your house as a decorative bowl. If you're thrifting and you see a piece that you like, maybe something you want to use to decorate your house with or for organization, but you don't really want to paint it, consider adding peel and stick paper to it. It's a really quick DIY and it completely changes the look. So I found this little planter container that had 3 wood planters inside at my thrift store. And I thought, what if I covered these with different papers? So Dollar Tree has a lot of peel and stick papers, so you'll have to go through and find a few that are going to coordinate well together. To add it on, super easy to do. You're going to pull out your planters and you want to line it up with the top edge and the side edge. And then you're going to wrap it around the entire planter, and you should be able to cover your entire planter. Cut it off at the end so you have a nice clean edge, and then you're going to cut it off at the bottom as well with your box cutter. That's all you have to do. Repeat those steps and cover your other 3 planters with your peel and stick wallpaper. Now, if you wanted to, you could use all the same peel and stick, but I think it looks nice with 3 different ones. I'll put those back into the base, and this is a great item to use for organization. When I was at the thrift store, I found this box and absolutely loved it. I love picking up old boxes like this, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it at the time, but I'm going to be using it in our next DIY. Whenever you're done using your aluminum cans, you can reuse those as planters. Don't throw them out, just clean them out, and then you're going to remove the labels from the outside. Now you are going to want to add some drainage holes to the base, so I drilled 3 holes in the base of all of the cans. Next, I'm going to paint them with a white sample paint. So do a pretty thick coat. You only need 1 coat. Then I'm going to add on a napkin. So I have these blue and white napkins from Amazon, and with every napkin, there's usually a white backing piece. You wanna make sure that you pull that backing piece off so you just have the top layer. After that white paint was completely dry, I'm gonna add Mod Podge to the outside of my can. Then I'm gonna place the napkin under that top rim and I'll pull it tightly around to the back. Now, luckily my napkin covered around the can completely, so I'll add a little bit of Mod Podge to hold it down. Now with the bottom half, you can either tear it off or you can try to cut it off and try to Mod Podge it around the base. Let this dry and you're gonna repeat these steps with your other two cans. I wanted to make these a little bit higher, so a great thing you can do are add wood beads to the base. So I'm gonna add 4 wood beads with hot glue to the base of my cans. This is just going to set them up a little bit higher when I put them into that box I got at the thrift store. You can plant anything in here. I'm gonna be adding some herbs that I can keep out in my kitchen. I picked up some herbs at Walmart. I'm gonna add those into my planters. For this next DIY, you're going to need to get these wood circles at Dollar Tree. One of them you're gonna keep together. The other one you're going to cut in half. The other thing you're going to need is an embroidery hoop. These come in a ton of different sizes, and I found one that was just a little bit smaller than my circles. And I'm gonna be using the inner hoop, not the one with the twist on it. Now with my half circle, I'm going to add on some peel and stick vinyl to it. And I'll trim off any excess. Using E6000, I'm going to put it along the bottom half of my wood piece that's solid and place the hoop on top. And then I'm going to place the half circle with E6000 onto the bottom portion of my hoop. Let that dry completely, and then you can add in these new florals that I found at Dollar Tree. You're just gonna trim them down to size with your wire cutters and place them in. You really don't need too many of them. You can also add a ribbon to the back so that you can hang this up. Let's create a planter with some frames from Dollar Tree. So I picked up 4 of these black floating frames, but honestly you could use any frames, but these are gonna work best for this DIY. Then I peeled off the backing of all of the frames. Now I do want you to keep that little cardboard piece. We're gonna use that as our template. Next, I'm going to use that cardboard piece to trace around the back of the peel and stick paper I wanted to use. I used this really popular one. It has these gorgeous birds on the front. I used a pencil to draw 8 squares. Then I'm going to cut out all the squares. And then I'll peel off the backing and place it onto the cardboard, flip it over, and then place another sheet of peel and stick on the back of the cardboard. Once I have all 4 done, I'm going to hot glue these pieces to the back of my frames, just where the black area is so you don't see it where it's clear. Repeat this for all 4 frames. Next, I'm going to attach the frames together with E6000 and hot glue. You want to place your frames in a square. And to hold them together until they had a chance to dry, I added some rubber bands around the entire frame. Let this sit and dry overnight, and then you can add in any florals or an air plant. You never know what you're gonna find at the thrift store. And the last time I was there, I found these 2 bamboo pieces. And honestly, at first, I wasn't sure exactly what they were meant for. I think they are from a restaurant supply to put lids in, but I had an idea to make this work for the summer. So what I'm gonna be doing with these 2 wood pieces is I'm gonna combine them together with hot glue and E6000. Once that dries, I'm gonna add a little peel and stick at the bottom. So this is not a new peel and stick, this is one they've had before, and it's in this like geometric white and gold pattern. So I wanted to cut a piece off, but I really wanted to go with that cool triangle shape that they have at the bottom. So I cut it off in that zigzag pattern. Next, I'm gonna peel off the back and place it on the front of my bamboo piece and wrap it around to the side. Now I didn't have enough to cover all the way around, so I did have to cut another piece that was the exact same size, and I just did that by flipping the peel and stick over and doing that at the bottom. And then I'm gonna wrap that around the back and then cut off any excess. I have something similar that I bought off of Amazon that was way more expensive that I used for holding cups and Sharpies. I thought this was a less expensive option and it would hold the cups so much better. One of my favorite inexpensive stools has always been this one from IKEA. I've used it before. It's a great stool that you can put out pretty much anywhere in your house. Let me show you how you can dress it up a little bit. I want to keep the base of it wood, but with the step portions, I'm going to do a little DIY with those. So I pulled off the step portions and I'm going to paint both of those white. I want to make sure that I paint the sides as well as the top. I let that dry. Next, I'm gonna do a technique you've probably seen me do before where I add on a napkin. If you're gonna be adding any napkin, you wanna make sure that you pull off that white piece that's on the back of pretty much every napkin. I haven't found one yet that there's not multiple layers, but you wanna pull it off so you just have your top layer. Then you're gonna do a very generous coat of Mod Podge with a foam brush on the entire step. Then I was lucky because the napkin I had pretty much fit over my entire step. So I'm gonna place it down. Now this step has some ridges. So as I placed it down, I just ran my fingernail in each of those ridges to make sure it laid in there nicely. Now we have to do the sides. So add a little bit of E6000 and then place the napkin down. Be a little careful while you're doing this because you can rip the paper. Sometimes I do that. But the cool thing about Mod Podging tissue paper or napkins is you can just add more paper if you need it. So if you need some paper on the sides, just add more. If you have any extra, you can pull it off or add a little bit of Mod Podge to the back. Now, because this is a stool and it's a step, I wanted to give it more of a protective coat. So I added a layer of polyurethane to the step before I added it back on. And here's how it turned out. Let me know down in the comments which of these DIYs was your favorite. You know I love your opinion. And make sure you subscribe because I want to see you back here, and I'll see you in our next one. Bye.